It already started. Okay. No introduction. Going right into it this time. Three, two, one.
Wait, I don't have any sound. You probably should have tested that first.
Nah, that's completely my fault. I know exactly the reason why.
Okay.
I do this like every single time. I feel like it should automatically share sound, honestly, but it doesn't matter that much.
Ask
It.
about. Here's my take. It is true that at some level of resolution that we can observe, causality is absolutely true. Given these initial conditions, this is what will happen afterwards. The,
That's the physicist in you
that's the
speaking.
physicist in you
Right.
speaking. So if
Exactly.
you take it to its logical conclusion, then there is no free will because everything is predetermined by things that
Everything has an
you,
antecedent.
whether you know it or not, something is
Right.
causing it to
Right.
happen.
Something
Right?
precipitated the thing
That's
that
right.
caused the thing
That's
that
right.
made
It's
that
always going to
happen.
happen.
Right.
But there is also stochastic uncertainty in the universe. It's built in. There's randomness, there's
Chaos.
unpredictability. Yeah. And so you have to ask, I think, if you're a physicist, what level of chaos actually affects you to the extent that you could actually make an instantaneous decision based on other stuff that's not necessarily
Mm.
in your past experience.
Did you want me to pause
So
it?
we got some compatibilism here, maybe.
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
That's what I literally thought of you. I was like, you would not like this.
I was taking notes because I already have objections. So I was taking some notes. So actually, let me just go back and listen to that one more time, real quick. Just that last part.
Actually
All right.
affects you to the extent that you could actually make an instantaneous decision based on other stuff that's not necessarily in your past experiences or what you have just seen in your current environment, right?
But wouldn't all those past experiences and your current environment, despite the fact that if you're introducing an element of chaos so that you've never experienced this ever before,
Mm-hmm.
your experiences that you have had would then inform your decision about the thing that you've never experienced.
Your inform is
Okay, I just need to pause it here to give some of my perspective before we keep going on. But did you want to add anything?
No, go right ahead.
I just want to point out a general rule of inference that I think does not work, that I think that they're kind of appealing to. Okay, there is causation, therefore there's no free will. That that's obviously not true. You can't just go from some events are caused by antecedents, therefore there's no free will. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Um, a few quick things. They're outright, right in the very beginning, he's outright saying, or I don't know everybody's name. The fellow on the right, the red shirt is saying, I think, or maybe this is Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was saying, crap, I already forgot. Fuck. Um,
Maybe because you're in the beach and you're a panda, you're just not in your natural environment.
yeah, for real. The sun's in my eyes. They're outright ruling the possibility that humans have a different causal relation to the world, which I definitely don't endorse, but like, libertarianism. So, okay, libertarianism, the view that even though the rest of the physical world is predeterministic or deterministically caused, humans are not caused in that same way. He's outright ruling that. And honestly, fair enough because it's libertarianism, you know what I mean? Um,
Is
but like
is that shade you're throwing?
I just I feel like Okay, if you want to be philosophically rigorous, you can't dismiss it out of hand. However, like it's libertarianism, you know, like okay, maybe I'll get this out because like they're probably out. They're not going to talk about libertarianism at all, probably for this whole video. But I just feel like I don't think humans can deny the law. Reject like I don't think there's a separate law of physics or humans are outside the law of physics.
Wait, so
Such
you're telling, wait, hold on. So you're telling me that quantum particles that go in and out of existence has no relationship to the human experience exclusively? Oh my God, this is crazy.
Bro, oh dude, this reminded me of the oh fuck you. I think you were there for this, or maybe it was Olin. It was probably you, but I felt so bad. This reminded me of our friend that we talked to a few times in
Yes, I
philosophy
know what you're
club.
talking about. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell it for the audience because for the three people who listen. But I was such an asshole, bro. I was such an asshole. The thing is, like, I'm I'm not gonna dismiss anyone's philosophical view out of hand, but I will tease you about it. Um, and one guy was talking about like, oh, how libertarianism might be true because like there's quantum fluctuations and quantum indeterminacy and stuff. And I was like, look at me, bro. I'm breaking the laws of physics. Look at me. Look at me. Like, I don't know. And anyway, he did not want to hang out after that day. So I probably, don't make fun of people for being libertarians, at least to their face.
Wait, he didn't want to hang out?
No.
Dang, bro, you
He
crushed his
didn't go to
dream.
philosophy club. I think there were other reasons, but
Oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't be surprised if he was like Ian's kind of an asshole for making fun of my libertarian instincts.
That's fair.
Another thing, okay, I'm not trying to come here and shit on everybody's views, although maybe that is the entire point of this video. But nobody even defined like what would a reasonable theory of free will look like? Um, because if you start getting STEM people talking about free will, they're gonna take it in a very different direction than people who actually study free will would take it in. For example, I want to hear about power. I want to hear about control. I want to hear about the ability to act differently than how one already acted. I'm not particularly interested in do your previous do your does your upbringing influence your character? Well, obviously. But that doesn't mean you don't have free will, you know?
Right.
So I'll let the video play more unless do you want to add anything?
Have you seen any of their videos before?
No. No,
Okay, so I just want to
yeah, tell
I
me.
don't I don't know the person's name in the red shirt, but they show up a couple times. Astrophysicists, as you might guess, because it says two astrophysicists, but there's three people. Which two are the astrophysicists? So one in the red shirt and it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Chuck, which is the guy in the middle, he's
Mhm.
just like a comedian who just like is comic relief. Like half the
Okay.
time he doesn't really know what's going on, but like he's like the audience. Okay, it's like you have these two
Yeah.
people talking about like maybe whatever, and then he's just like, right, yeah. So that just to give you some idea, some context, but that's about it. That's
Yeah, I
about it.
appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Is the word.
Oh,
Is it
rather
inform
than
or dictate?
predicate. Right.
Right. Or
oh,
require. Right. That's the thing there. Yeah.
oh,
Let's say you're in a room with a whole bunch of audience members. You tell a joke.
right.
It falls flat. In that moment, you have many things you could do to turn it into a laugh point.
True.
Right? You hear silence and you'd be like, oh, that was good. And then everyone laughs. Or, so you make some
Or
sort
is
of
this
comment.
mic on?
Yeah,
That's
right.
the old one.
Right.
What do you do? Do you have the freedom to choose one of several choices that you had designed from your past, that you prepared to deal with that eventuality? Or is the choice made for you already?
But if he was less experienced, he might not dig out of that hole
Yes.
as effectively or efficiently.
Exactly.
But if you've been in 100 cases where you had a joke bomb,
Right.
you have data on how to pull out of it.
Exactly.
So statistically, you have a chance of getting people
And it
to
happens
smile.
instantaneously.
Okay, I'm just wondering, like, okay, I think the topic at hand is, here's a thought experiment. You go to make a joke in front of a crowd. Do you have free will to make the joke. It is not relevant how many times you've made jokes in your past to determine if you have free will to make the current joke. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. And I think I was actually going to say that as well, but obviously you picked up on it too, where it's like they seem to put a lot of like credence to like, just basically experience into relation to free will. And I don't really like understand that really. I feel like we're kind of missing the mark on what should be like talked about,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's something that could be discussed. I know a lot of people when they first like start thinking about free will and determinism just being the lack of free will. A big part that they think about is just like all the circumstances you just can't control. Like they don't think about like, the metaphysics of it all. It's just like, oh yeah, my environment, my genetics. So I guess maybe it's like a good like stepping stone, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You
In
don't
the
even
moment.
realize that it's happening.
It's in the moment.
So it's
But
in the
yeah,
moment. Right.
Did you have free will to not?
see, that's right.
Right.
So now that would be interesting because here you are in a place where your instinct, your training, and
Your
your
10,000
desire,
10,000 hours,
right,
whatever it is.
will, as a reflex, cause you to say this, this, and this, and then people go, "Wow, that was great! Look how he turned it around."
So, Charles, can I say in that comment
Yeah.
that he preloaded his neurosynapses so that in that moment, they all tripped.
Right,
They tripped, meaning triggered,
That's right.
to go to the solution to that problem.
right.
The same is true.
But then I wouldn't have free will at that point.
That's
It
what I'm
would just
saying.
be a response. What I would have is a response to a
That's right.
situation, not
Yes.
necessarily. I wasn't really choosing that.
It chose it for you.
It chose it for me.
you have five choices, and then your system chooses one of the five or
In
whatever,
that moment.
In that moment, right? And so in that moment, you are not exercising free will. Did you set it up though with free will in the past so that you could react this way
All right, I have to pause.
deterministically?
So when I was watching this video, I, I was like kind of like I wasn't yelling, but I was like talking at the TV. I was like, what are you saying? Like, what am I listening to? I was one of those moments where I'm like, so okay, in this moment, in this moment right now, as I'm speaking, as I'm reacting, my feelings, behavior, and thoughts about all this are determined by, let's say, neurochemistry. And then what the guy in the red is going to argue is that, but did your experience leading up to this moment give you this determination? And it's like, it's such a weird thought to have because that does that just mean that my first question for him would be, what is there like an age range where you suddenly just lose free will? Like you reached a threshold of experience and now you just don't have any free will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like how many how much time, like say let's say you have one action, I don't know, January 1st of like 2026. Like how many days before that or how much, I don't know, do you need with free will to set up that action in time?
Right.
Like like let's say it takes a week. Like you have to if you plant like you have to plan something out within a week. Um okay, but this okay. Bro, I just like there's a lot to be said. I've already forgot my first point, which is unfortunate. What was your point again?
My what I'm wondering is it just seems a bit arbitrary that we're gonna say there comes a point in your life where your life becomes determined because you built enough experience to reach that determination. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a bit arbitrary.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm also wondering why would we take for granted there's no free will? Like, okay, you said you have five options. You have to, your system. There we go. That was the second point. I'm writing this down. Your system. I'm going to talk about that. Your system chooses one of the 5 points, uh, points of action or whatever. But if you like anticipated one from the past using your free will, then it counts as possibly counts as free will. Well, why would we think you had free will in the past? Like, what is it about? Like, what would that even look like?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so it's like for any basically for any situation you're in, you're gonna have multiple courses of action. Um, so why? But it's like, okay, if you planned one of them out in advance, then using your free will, okay, well, let's go back like when you went to plan it. Well, why do you have free will here? Why do you have free will here but not later, you know?
Exactly.
It's
It's just
it's
it's just an arbitrary distinction.
it seems like self-defeating, yeah.
Right.
The second thing, and this point, I haven't read much of Daniel Dennett, but this point seems like it's something Daniel Dennett would say. Okay. He's like, "Oh, your system chooses this and your system chooses that." Well, what's the difference between me and my system? Like, okay, my heart beats involuntarily. Um, yeah, that's out of my control. But maybe if someone jumps in front of me real fast, I bring my arms up. That's like outside my control.
Mm,
Um, but it's like making myself dinner, like that's clear. Like if we do have free will, then that's clearly in my control. Um, s- but like that's still my system. Like you can't. Basically, what I'm saying is you can't just be like, oh, your system says this, your system says that. It's like, okay, yeah, humans are made out of um, I don't know how to end this point, but it's not. You can't infer that we have no free will from the starting point that our decisions come about by a series of neural processes.
mm. So maybe will this argument change if we bring in some like immaterial, soul like because you have maybe the soul thing is you and then the system is the body. Maybe we can like kind of bring in some free will somewhere.
Um, I okay, I think so. I think I hold a very uncommon view that most philosophers would think is pretty shitty, but I don't know, it does make sense to me. And that's basically you need an immaterial mind to be a libertarian about free will.
Is that
If
is that controversial?
I think it is controversial because there lots of people will say there's a logical, how do I say this? Neither 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 dualism of the mind or libertarianism about free will um I guess entail one another. They think you can be a libertarian and be a materialist, which I think is fascinating. I don't know how you could be that. I'm sorry. I don't understand.
That's really tough to argue for,
There
extremely
are,
tough.
there are libertarian materialists, or maybe like libertarian physicalists, or at least materialism, libertarians who are monists about the mind or something like that, which I think is just okay. Um, and then you could be a free will denier, but also be a dualist about the mind, which I could see. Well, I mean I could very see that very easily on epiphenomenalism of the mind.
Mm,
Which is the view that like you have a mind, but it doesn't actually cause anything. It's simply the cause of other things.
right.
So I don't know. I could start the video again, but it's just like, there's just like so many errors to unpack and conceptual mistakes, or I don't know.
Mm,
And there's also a lot being taken for granted and very little argumentation, which is fine, but it is just an observation I would like to point out there.
yeah.
But you actually were in control of the circumstance. Right. Here's another physical example of that. A football player is trying to sack a quarterback. The quarterback jukes left. The person trying to sack the QB doesn't have enough time to think about whether to move left or right or up or down. It has to react based on years of training and practice and experience. So in that moment, that action is not free. But in the setting up of that moment, if it was free enough, does that constitute free will? From a physics perspective, it might not. Then again, from a psychological point of view or from a biological point of view, it might.
Wait, what?
Okay, I'm sorry, bro. I don't want to keep unpausing it, but like you can't be sending me videos like this and expect me to get
Right.
through it.
This was why I had to send it to you, bro. That's why I
Okay,
had.
two small things. I'm probably gonna forget them. I think, bro, I think I have ADHD. I think I've settled on the fact I have ADHD. So I need to get them out really quick, and then so you could remember them, and then remind me of them. Okay,
Okay.
the quarterback. I don't know. Maybe I think the juking probably, if there is free will, I think there probably is free. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is the pers the free the physics perspective, the psychological perspective. I'll start with that second point because this is okay. I'm going to use an adjective that's not used very frequently, but it'll make the point go very more smoothly. The word alethic means truth. So,
Okay.
okay. So alethic means truth. Okay. I don't want the physics perspective or the psychology perspective. I want the alethic perspective, okay? I want the perspective that gives us the truth. I think that is I think that's the perspective that takes into account all domains of thought that are relevant. And I don't I don't like the idea of being like from there's no free will from a physics perspective, but there is from a psychological perspective. It's like that I'm sorry, that's not really coherent to me. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just like I don't think that is as meaningful as he thinks it is. Because then I think what he's really saying is, yeah, physics says that the world we live in is, deterministic of a particular kind. There's quantum indeterminacy, but it's deterministic above that, at least probably. But like, however, if you look at psychology, there are like varying levels of maybe control that a person has over their behavior, such that like the more time that they have, the greater control they have over it. Um, okay, but that doesn't mean that like according to physics there's no free will and according to psychology there is. It just means that here's two data that we can look at to help understand, do we have free will? Okay, this leads me to the other point, which was the juke, the football juke.
Right.
I don't I haven't thought about like something like that. Is it outside of their control? Um, I feel like I don't know how to I don't know. Actually, maybe I shouldn't even be commenting on that, but it's not clear to me that that is a lack of free will. It's not okay. I guess I'm making a very small point, which is it's not at all obvious that you clearly have no free will when you act very quickly. Which sounds like it might be contradicting what I said earlier when I said like, oh, someone jumps from me and I raise my hands. Um, I don't know. In the football case, it doesn't strike me. It doesn't strike both views seem plausible. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think when it comes to like reflex, because um I think that's the like real argument when we're talking about the football example. And I think intuitively it seems like a deliberate choice to do something is significantly different than the reflex of something just happening in your body without you making that decision. And I think maybe from kind of like a macro scale, I think like if we look at it from like a free will deterministic perspective, we probably wouldn't see as much as a significant difference as someone who is maybe more of a compatibilist, like redshirt guy. But I think you're right. I think it doesn't necessarily like mean that there is no free will, like a reflex. Maybe, but I think a compatibilist would probably say that it's definitely less free will than a deliberate decision or action.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, like you could. I mean, I would never endorse John Locke, but if we were to take the Lockean view, like no one's inhibiting your ability to do what you desire. So you have free will, and there you go. Like, you know, no one was preventing you from anticipating or making the correct, strategic move in football. So no one was preventing you from doing it, so you had the freedom to do it. But I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, compatibilists might have a different perspective. I think I think that's not necessarily the case though, as well.
Mm, okay.
What good are you if you're not landing on one side or the other of the spectrum? I don't
Yeah.
need you to say, it could be this, it could be that. And I'm right both ways.
Yeah.
Whichever the actual answer is, I was right.
Yeah. Well, he's saying I don't really have the free will to make that determination. I'm going to be right or wrong.
Let's just ask an opinion. In my opinion, I would like to have free will exist in this universe, even though philosophically it can be argued that it does not exist.
Are you happy with a world where you perceive free will even if it isn't?
Maybe.
Ooh.
This has to do with the movie Arrival, right, starring Amy Adams,
Yes.
where if you know how your future is going to turn out, would you like to live your life anyway? Right? And the answer is yes, I would. But
Okay.
I still would like to think that the future is not yet predetermined.
No, but I know what? It's different. I'm not saying it's predetermined and you know it. I'm saying, would you still be happy with life if some alien said, "Look, dude, your life is predetermined. There's nothing you can do about it. Keep on believing you have free will," and then they go back to their planet.
You're a puppet on a
A
string.
puppet on a string
That's
from a free will puppet.
You're a free will puppet on a string.
What I would say in that case is that I would hope that the knowledge that I have that puppet on the string circumstance allows me to circumvent it. I can find a way. If it's fate, right?
I
I
think
knew you were gonna pause, bro.
I think question concerning the proper attitude to take, depending on, what your view of free will is more of an interesting question that than I think many philosophers have entertained in the past, in my experience. On the Ask Philosophy subreddit, which again, not it's a good source, but not that good of a source. There are common questions of people being like, "Oh, I have no free will, and now I'm really depressed. Like, what do I do about it?" Well, first of all, you probably have existential OCD. I don't know. I feel like a lot of my friends, not a lot. I've had a few friends who I think have that, and that's what they say. Okay, putting that to the side, people in the Ask Philosophy subreddit will be like, "This is a fucking stupid question. Like, it doesn't matter if you have free will. Like, your life is still gonna be the same. Like, it doesn't feel any different. Like, go fucking read a book." And it's frustrating because it's like, no, I think this is a valuable question to ask. Is is love and friendship less valuable if you're predetermined to have it and not have it?
I was just having that conversation the other day. Sorry to cut you off, go on.
No, you could go. You could go.
Oh, well, I think that honestly, I was wondering about what people would think about that. So I was asking a couple people, and it was kind of mixed. Some people really like thought love was more valuable if it was predetermined. And I guess that makes sense given our idea of soulmates and like the ancient Greeks, right? They thought that was like peak love if it was something that was meant to be, that was fated, right? And another mix was like, oh yeah, if it's your free will, obviously you're choosing. It's a bit harder because it's not this fate lock thing, but like that effort makes it more valuable. So it's just funny you brought that up because I was just having that conversation with a bunch of different people.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I don't know. Personally, I think that you should be slightly more upset about the state of the world if you think there's no free will.
Really? Why?
Um,
And obviously, this is just your opinion, but I was just.
well, okay, actually, no, it depends on the circumstance. But I still think what I said is true. But okay, if something bad happens, or if I make a mistake, I can just be like, obviously I'm gonna like try to do better next time, but it was predetermined to happen. Like there was nothing I could have done. Um, yeah, there's just nothing I could have done. And there's nothing I can do to, whatever. If I fix it, then I fix it not because of me, but because of I'm predetermined to. Um,
Well,
when
we
I'm
would still
playing,
say we would still say it's because of you now, but just like our idea of what that means is just really different. But
yeah, no, it was, yeah, I still like, if I did make a mistake, I still did make the mistake, but I was predetermined to do it.
right, right.
So, um, when I was in high school finishing my chess tournaments, if I ever lost, I was like, okay, I was predetermined to lose. Like, there's nothing, like, I did the best I could, but if I lost, then, you know, the physical state of the world, the physical state of the world before I existed, was already set in stone. And once I was born, I was just a series of events that that led up to this point of me losing, and there's nothing I could have done. I'm not
Mm,
saying that's the correct attitude. I'm just saying that's how I felt.
right. And that
Um,
made you feel worse or better?
oh, that made me feel better.
Okay.
However, oh yeah, but it's like, well, I think freedom is a good thing. Well, maybe we could say there are levels of freedom. Political freedom, that's good. Like, sexual freedom, that's, usually good. Um, then we got freedom, like free will freedom. That's probably good too. Well, if we don't have that, then yeah, that's not good. It's not
That's
hor
not good.
it's possibly not horrible, but it's a
Yeah.
lack of something good, I would think.
Mm.
Um,
I
I don't
I never
know.
I never really felt, yeah, I mean for me it was kind of like I never really felt like any way about it. It was just more like it was just like kind of just learning like a fact, I guess.
Okay.
It's like learning a new math problem. And like besides maybe the frustration you might get from having to learn how to solve it, it's not like I don't think most people when they learn a math problem, they like feel like any like value towards it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, okay, I gotta do this now. But I don't have that existential obsessive
Yeah.
compulsiveness.
Well, I also wonder if that's okay. I'm gonna be slightly critical of your position.
My position.
Yeah, I wonder if I wonder if that's slightly like status quo bias because I'm like, okay, imagine I implanted something in your brain where like every time you had to make like a somewhat impactful decision, like I was actually in control and I got like a notification on my phone and I just like I made the choice for you. Like I always did it in your best interest, but ultimately I made the choice. I think you'd probably not be cool with that.
I think would I be cool with that or would I not be cool with that? I don't know. I think if everyone else is in the same boat, like because if we're saying that nobody has free will, like if you were just doing this to me, I would not be cool with that because I know that I could possibly have free will. But if you were doing this to everyone else and everything, I don't think it would bother me that
Okay, like
much. I mean, what like I don't know why would that bother me? It's like okay,
what if there was an
I'd make sure to get
alien?
on your good side. I'd be like okay, you
uh,
know.
yeah, what if there was an alien controlling all of us equally? Um, would I be upset? I mean, I think so. I mean, like if I had libertarian free will, but like an alien came and took it away from me, I'd be like, bro.
You know what? You know what though? I feel like I do have to. make the distinction between how I feel and how I would respond to it. Because I think I wouldn't feel upset, but I would probably see how I can like red shirt guy, how I can circumvent it if it's possible. But that's just like a curiosity, like, okay, if I do learn that I'm being controlled, then I would question, is the thing controlling me have like on a plane of existence above me have free will? And I would try to see, can I get there? Because it's kind of like, then we got to start thinking about our friend's philosophy that we talked about earlier, where it's like, oh, I have proof that there's things above me controlling me. Can I somehow figure out how to get
No.
there?
Sorry.
No.
No, I mean I appreciate you exploring that point of view.
That's the nicest way to say, you know, that was trash, but I appreciate it. Oh my
I mean,
God.
people
Okay.
like people have look, lots of people hold that perspective. So I'm not saying I'm not saying no one will get value out of that sentiment.
Okay, yeah. For people out there who want to change their fate, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Right? You've seen so many Greek mythology stories where you
Bro,
try
you just said that.
Yeah, I totally forgot he mentions it in this video.
to avoid the
But yeah.
fate of
Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it's pretty well known that the Greeks were obsessed with determinism.
Ah, okay, actually, I'm gonna have to listen to this point and then probably respond sooner than anybody wants me to because the Greeks, bro, like the Greek view of free will in this respect, like let's okay, we'll come to it.
whatever the gods have
And the
destined
act
for
of
you,
avoiding it
the act
makes
of
it
Is what
avoiding
happen.
it
makes it happen.
happen.
Like Oedipus, for example.
Oedipus
Right.
would be the most
Famous of those.
egregious
Yeah.
example. Yes.
Sorry.
So the bottom line is yes, I would still be satisfied with trying to do something different
Mhm.
because even the illusion of trying to do something different is in itself a form of free will. Physics wise, though,
It's
that's
not.
the challenge.
Bro,
Yeah.
no, it's not. No, it's not. I feel like there is free will, therefore there is a kind of free will. Okay, that is not a good inference.
Ontological argument of free will. If I can imagine free will, there must be free will because having free is better than not having free will.
Dude, I think
Damn.
Michael, I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Michael Huemer kind of has a similar argument where maybe it's not that similar, but
Michael
uh
Huber.
oh, just you should we'll do a react we will react to him
Oh, I'm scared.
eventually. But his argument is something like one of them is like if you had no free will, I'm not gonna be able to accurately represent it, so I'll do what the best I can do, but it probably won't be very good. If you did not have free will, then you could not reason you could not you could not reason within your control anything. Therefore, if you believe you have no free will, you are not in control of believing that. So you should have no reason to believe it. Okay, yeah, here's the argument. Here's the argument. Okay. You should believe one way to okay, fuck. I'm having trouble already. Okay. Basically, if there's no free will, then the way that we form beliefs is mistaken or unreliable or not interesting because yeah, which just seems obviously false, but anyway, that's his argument. So, oh yeah, fate. Ah, fate, bro, fate. Why are we talking about fate? Okay. Fate is the goofiest thing I think I've ever heard. One of them. It's like you have free will. You have free will up until a certain point at which something that was destined to happen will happen. So like
Yes.
in Oedipus's case, you unfortunately have sex with your mother. Um, like you have free will up until that point. Like eventually it'll happen. You just don't know when.
Yeah. It's like a
Um,
cutscene in a video game. Like you could do anything
yeah.
to that point, but that cutscene is gonna dictate. the story. Yeah,
That's actually a really good example. I like that.
right.
Okay, from a physics, he's like from a physics perspective. Bro, stop it with the physics perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
So Neil, if you had to right now decide that free will does exist or doesn't exist, what would you prefer?
I'm my thinking over the recent years, because I didn't used to think about this at all. My thinking over recent years is leaning towards the absence of free will for practically everything we think and do in our lives.
Hmm.
And I base that on the fact that over time, things that we have done as people in our species at one time was you are totally to blame for that, or just something you did, or something you. We've learned no, this person is more susceptible than you are to addiction.
Right.
There's a biochemistry there. This person cannot just be made the life of the party because they're on the autism spectrum. They don't control that.
Oh my God. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Bro,
Bro, you can't be the life of the party.
fuck, bro. Bro,
You're on the spectrum, man.
bro.
Like,
Okay, okay, bro. Okay. Okay, I was about to say, okay, he's kind of base, and then he's like, brought up the autism point, bro.
yeah, I mean, I actually completely forgot about this as well. I thought he was gonna say, some people are just predisposed to being introverted, but the autism thing was just completely off base.
Okay, I need to plug this book. I need to plug this book because I don't want to get into it too much, but this is like I don't know if I spelled their name correctly, but it's pretty close. So, if anybody's interested in the relationship between autism and freedom, this is a good book. Okay, I'm not gonna talk much about it, but check it out. Okay. Um, actually, I will say one thing about that book. People, okay, for a long time, people who theorized about autism basically framed it as if like uh there's there's no ghost in the machine. It's just like if you got autism, you're basically just like a robot who just like responds according to, the stimuli. Also, okay, I got autism, and believe me, bro, I look really fucking weird at some parties. People tell me that. They're like, why are you acting like that?" It doesn't mean that, I don't know, I'm not convinced that just because the way my autism manifests is I'm really fucking weird at parties, doesn't mean that it's outside of my control to be the life of a party, you know? Like, I feel like if I practice, this is the most autistic thing to say. If
If
if I
I just
practiced really hard,
rehearsed constantly, I could do it.
if I practiced like dancing,
Oh my gosh.
um, giving people handshakes, like not like the formal handshake, like dabbing up with somebody or whatever. If I practiced that, if I practiced, you know, uh, 20-year-old Midwestern small talk, I could probably do really fucking good.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to because I have no reason to do that. Um, however, I mean, okay, also another thing, the fact that I'm predisposed to being really fucking weird at parties doesn't mean that it's outside of my control, you know?
Right.
Um, okay, I like if I'm like more predisposed, if I have a higher predisposition to alcoholism than other people, um, that doesn't necessitate that it is or is not outside of my control to become or to eventually stop being an alcoholic. Like, yeah, it might be really fucking hard. It might be like way harder than most people. And I'm not saying that's irrelevant. That's totally relevant. Um, but like we're talking about free will, we're not talking about like how easy or hard it is to perform particular actions.
Yeah,
So,
I 100% agree. That was I was gonna mention that, but
I'm sorry. Am I taking all the
No,
easy
no,
points? Okay.
you're spitting, bro. You're literally spitting because like I also when he said that I was like, what? And I was just thinking, like, you're not really proving against free will. Like all these, I mean, maybe, and I don't. It's been a while since I've seen this, but maybe what he's gonna say is like, as time goes on, we're figuring out that behavior that we used to attribute to just purely, the decision of the person, we're seeing that there are more factors involved, that this person doesn't have as much control as we thought. And so maybe we'll reach a point where we have completely figured out the human condition and that we can see that none of it is in our control. So even moving surpass just predispositions. So maybe he wants to make that argument. But yeah, but just saying, you're more predisposed to addiction doesn't mean that you lack the free will. I mean, that seems pretty clear, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then, well, then, then you get this really. I mean, I feel like if you take Neil deGrasse Tyson's point to one of its conclusions, you would say like if you have like a very strong. Well, where does it stop? I think we can imagine somebody who I don't know who's somebody who cheats on their partner a lot because I don't know for whatever reason they're very predisposed to I don't know getting really horny or something like that. Does it mean like, babe, like I'm sorry I cheated on you, it was outside of my control? No, that was in your control. It was just really hard. It was really hard
This
for
is
you to
really
for you to
difficult, right?
yeah. Maybe that yeah, but it's like maybe it's harder for you than most people. Okay, that doesn't mean it was outside your control. And also like to say like,
Wait,
oh,
or sorry, go on, sorry.
no, you could say something.
I was thinking though, will our feelings about that cheater change though? Because I think of like, um, let's think of like, what would be a good example? Let's say someone has like a really bad limp and they're walking to your house and they show up and you're like, I'm sorry, I was late. The walk was harder for me than I thought. And, but versus someone who does not have any disabilities in regards to walking, you would probably feel a little bit more lenient towards the person who had some form of mobility issues, right?
Yeah.
So maybe in that cheating case, we wouldn't feel as upset where it's like, like you were predisposed to this, so it's understandable, at least more understandable, so I can like maybe have some leniency, or does that not? How do you feel about that?
No, I would totally agree with that. And I would even take it a step further and be like, imagine your friends, you have one friend walking who has, physical disability, and then you have another friend who has, um, I don't know how you'd frame it, a psychosocial disability or something. Let's say they have ADHD, and
Mm,
they keep getting distracted, you know? Or maybe you got somebody with autism who takes the same path every single time, but that path's actually longer than like the most efficient path. Um, I think I think it's the right thing to be more lenient to them.
mm,
However, I think it's I don't know. I think the control thing it's different. I mean, like if you have I don't know. Okay, I feel like your will can override your predispositions, but your will cannot override like a physical limiting factor, you know? Like, um, I mean, I feel like I'd be a fine example. I have a difficult time focusing in conversations a lot of the time. And I think people should be more lenient because I have ADHD. However, you know, if I really wanted to, I probably could make myself focus in every conversation, but I'd have to be like really, really on top of my game, you know?
it would take a lot of effort, and I think you'd probably burn out after a
I
while.
probably would.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that's a good thing and probably ableist to expect me to do that. However, like that's at least within my control to an extent. Whereas, you know, doing 5 pull-ups is not within my control, unfortunately. Like,
Mm,
no matter how strong my will is, I probably can't. I probably can't do that.
right. So obviously we're presuming free will here, just to make it clear. That's interesting. Because I guess in a way, like if you want to get like real psychological about it, like if you are changing your perspective on what you're capable of doing, kind of like a cognitive behavioral therapy, you can reshape your brain. So it's not even the case that you're going against like your will is going against how your brain is designed, but it's more so your will is like changing your chemistry so slightly that you're able maybe to focus 20 seconds, 20 minutes longer, whatever, than you would normally do. So
Hmm.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think something that one of our instructors said at a conference one time, which the philosophy conference was everybody's facial expressions that I saw I did not like this comment, but I honestly kind of really fucked with it, and it was about free will, and basically it was like, no matter, basically like, even if you have very strong predispositions or very strong urges to perform a particular action, you still have the freedom not to do it, and that's not, it's, it might be, it's hard to say. Um. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of fuck with that because it's like I think the extent how do I say this? The extent to which someone's predisposed to do something should I think weigh in how you evaluate their actions. Like if somebody's like super predisposed to alcoholism, you should you should be like how should I say this? If they become alcoholic, it's like you should not be like I don't know, upset at them, you know? Or they don't deserve anything bad, I guess, for that. Um, but that doesn't mean they didn't have the freedom to do otherwise.
Mhm.
Um, so like, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if you agree with that or
No, I think I do agree.
not.
Yeah, definitely. I think the level of because we're basically just talking about responsibility here. I think the level of responsibility is inversely correlated with
Yeah,
um how much free will. I don't know if I said that right. I'm kind of tired, but yeah, if you basically the more free will you have, the more responsibility you would say.
yeah,
Okay.
In the way you might think they should, just
Hmm.
because you're the life of the party. As you add up all of these things, let's go back to epilepsy, where before that was even a word, you were occupied by the devil. Did you do something bad? Or, well, you knew it was not in, everyone knew you were not in control of it. But today, no one is saying, did you have the free will to not have an epileptic seizure? Of course not. Do you have the free will to not be depressed? The person who's ready to jump off the bridge, in that instant, do they have the free will to not jump off?
Oh, bro, I'm sorry, bro. I just like I want to go through the video, but I gotta keep stopping it. Okay, here's a really quick point. Um, sometimes my eye twitches. I'm not sure why, but that's outside my control. And I could tell because, yeah, however, okay, then I also have Tourette's where sometimes I move my eyes around, and that is within my control. I have like a super strong urge to like dart my eyes all over the place. Um,
Wait, but actually, I do have a question about that.
yes.
So your Tourette's, you would say that is with somewhat in your control in terms of your tics?
So yeah, not all of my ticks are within my control, but um, the way that I see it. is if you have the urge to perform a tick and you don't do it, you'll be in a really uh you'll be in a really bad position. It'll feel really bad.
It kind of
But
reminds me of
like,
OCD.
huh? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So like yeah, it's still within my control. I wonder how long I could go without doing it. But it'll probably really like really painful. Really bad experience, but like okay, but it's so weird to say like okay, was my eye twitching in the first case? That that's clearly not within my control. But that has a completely different phenomenological character than the other ones. Or it takes someone who, just doesn't have Tourette's and just rolls their eye. Like that has a completely different phenomenological character than when your eye twitches outside your control. So it's so weird to me to be like, so basically when you have a seizure, that's not in your control. So when you cheat on a test, that's not in your control either, because like it's all in the brain. It's like,
Mm.
uh, that I'm sorry, bro. That does not compute with me.
Do you think that's what he's saying? That he's like making that comparison? Because I kind of see it more like he's just talking about the progression of our understanding of the body and how our perception has changed about it over time.
Okay, I would agree with the perception point.
Okay.
So maybe I did misunderstand this view. I'm gonna go back just a bit.
Off the free will to not be depressed. The person who's ready to jump off the bridge, in that instant, do they have the free will to not jump off the bridge? I don't think so. And the more I add up and explore the human condition, I'm forced to conclude that the direction we are headed is that we are all products of an absence of free will. And as a result, society needs more compassion for people who do not otherwise fit in.
Mm-hmm.
See, I have the exact opposite position in
Uh-oh.
my own mind. I feel that it is
Can you
because
pause real
of
quick?
the absence.
I actually remember more of this than I thought because I'm literally saying stuff that he is saying, but it's not out of memory. It's just out of like it's probably somewhere back in my brain somewhere. So just to summarize his view, and you tell me if you think differently. So basically, he's saying that based on how we have progressed, with science and understanding the human condition, it seems more and more likely to be the case that we lack free will, and that there's probably going to be a point where we can understand it, every behavior, and see it as just basically a determined aspect of what's going to happen. And do you think that is, and then I think the last point he made is that we basically are showing more compassion towards people due to this understanding that it's not in their control as much as we think. Do you think that kind of summarizes his view?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate description of his view.
Okay.
Of free will that you see in most behavior, that it is that 1% of free will activity that moves us in the right direction, bends us toward compassion, takes the arc of history toward justice.
But
That-
but going back to what Neil just said, there are people who actually suffer from personality disorders, that
Yeah.
suffer from brain disorders,
day-
where they can't do what you just said.
That's
They
right.
can't express compassion.
Just
They can't
so
move
there
towards
was a
the
day when no one even
Right.
thought to analyze it that way,
Right.
as a brain
Yeah,
disorder.
you were just an
Correct.
a-hole.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
Right.
it.
Now,
Like,
if they can't, you can. You can show that person compassion or understanding.
So if-
and therefore, free will as an entity exists.
Charles, you're drawing
Even
a
if-
line
even if
that I have seen be in constant motion over the decades and over the centuries. That
Interesting.
line that you're saying, they don't have free will, but I do.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I don't know that I can.
See, I have free will over some things and not over others.
Okay.
Someone can see me and say, that person needs help in this way and has the free will to help me. I see somebody else who needs this help and free will. Together, it is a network. It's not that any
So
individual
you
is
have to
superior
draw
to
the
the other.
line for every individual and even perhaps for society.
Okay.
Does the criminal who's born in poverty have free will to not be a criminal if most of the people in prison came in below the poverty line?
Great
So there's some
question.
sociological force
Right.
operating there
So this
that,
is,
that where we are less susceptible to that force.
I think that's a great question, analogy. Let's say this. Say those folks.
I feel okay. I do want to comment on that. I don't want to come off as insensitive or ignorant. Because I think like I'm not okay. People's like material conditions 100% like not maybe not determined, but um are a strong influence on their character and like um you know how they turn out in life and stuff. But and so yeah, like yeah, people who are in um poverty are going to be more likely to resort to crime. That doesn't mean they don't have free will,
True.
um yeah, and it's not I'm not like rejecting, I don't know, I'm not like being a conservative on this issue or something. It's just like they still have free will. Like they just for a variety of reasons they're more predisposed to committing crime. And like we should be like yeah, compassionate towards them. It doesn't mean that like they had no control, you know?
Right.
So
Did you have anything to
Folks who
say uh, about compassion and free will? The argument from Red Shirt.
okay, I don't okay, well I feel like he started making his point and then Chuck brought up the personality disorder thing was and then the guy in the red shirt kind of like started agreeing with him, but I don't think that was his original point anyway. I don't
Okay.
so I think drawing the line at personality disorders, yeah, is ableist and unwarranted. I also think, I mean, in some cases, not in all cases. And I also think, I don't know, his points are like, oh, everybody has like 1% free will, and we all kind of like, use our little bit of free will to help each other where we don't have free will. I'm just like, that doesn't seem like the correct view at all.
Is that
Um,
free will elitism?
I just, it's like free will goofiness. I don't know.
Well, I have free will, and I'm gonna share some free will with you,
I'm gonna share the good
showing you
word with
my
you, and it's free will.
passion.
Yeah.
But I only show this to people who deserve it. So, you know, like,
Yeah,
what is that? It's a bit of an interesting viewpoint.
I agree.
who have been branded criminals by our society are incarcerated.
Yes.
We can then, who were fortunate enough not to face those same circumstances, who are not incarcerated, can look at these incarcerated people and instead of saying we must keep them away from society, welcome them back.
So that's called restorative justice.
Yeah,
That's
and
what you're
that's a
talking
free
about.
will example of the exercise of free will
Of society.
of society toward individuals who may not have.
Ah, bro, I don't want to keep pausing, and I'm just like, bro, just like this is not free will. This
Right,
is
this is
this is like political justice or um psychology. I don't know. This is more along ethics than the metaphysics of free will.
yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting. This is no shade at all, but it's a bit of shade because sometimes you see physicists kind of shit on philosophy, but like, watching these two very, very intelligent, very well, I mean, maybe not the guy on the right isn't as well known, but I think I've seen him around in videos. Try talking about free will. It's like we do need philosophers, okay? Because this is like, what
Dude,
is happening?
it's bad. It's bad when two undergraduates in philosophy are like constantly picking out things of this has at least 1 million views. How many? 3.6. Bro, it's just like I'm not trying to be mean, just trying to be honest. This gives me like high schooler talk about free will type of vibes. Like
Right.
like I'm not okay. The topic, okay, like the topic of how should we treat people who commit crimes. Okay, that's like a really good conversation topic. That's not part of free will, you know? Um and it I don't know. It's just upsetting. I don't know what to say.
It is. It is. I did. Yeah, I understand, and it's like hard to even like make that critique without sounding so pretentious. But like, it's genuinely is just like honesty, because like what you said, it's like by no means are we experts in the field of philosophy, but it's just kind of I don't know. I think it'd be like a similar reaction. Like if we were to like start talking about astrophysics, it would look just as ridiculous as them
Yeah.
talking about
Well, and
this.
I agree. It's like imagine if okay, to use your knowledge of physics to talk about free will. Well, okay, I think our theories of free will should be empirically uh informed. But to talk about free will purely from your background in the physical sciences is like talking about astrophysics purely from the background of the anthropology of science. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, bro. They're just different fields. Like the anthropology of science is cool, but it's not going to teach you anything about contemporary astrophysics, you know? And I feel like it's the same thing, like, yeah, um, okay, I don't know. Maybe that's a bad point. I'm not sure, but I don't know.
I think I understand what you're saying. I think I agree.
Have had the options, had the life experience to recover from a bombed joke.
I saw an old movie
Yeah.
where there's a guy who was a junkie.
Yeah.
Right. And he needed help.
Mhm.
But they said, no, the cops came and arrested him because he was a junkie.
Right.
Today, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
You would say the person needs help.
They need right.
Right.
Therapy.
Even if that person
Treatment.
had robbed somebody, that person needs treatment. Yes. And the people who cannot shake whatever it is that afflicts them tells me that free will cannot be as free as we think it is. Do you remember the shooter?
Bro, okay, so okay, what if some people just make bad decisions? Um, that's like a possibility. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be inconsiderate of people who use and abuse drugs and have drug issues. Like we should be doing what we can to help them. Um, and maybe they're more predisposed because of a bunch of other factors. But that simply just doesn't mean that they didn't have free will. Like I'm sorry, like I'm like the attitude I'm saying like the attitude they're taking towards them, I agree with. We should be compassionate. But it's not like he said the example of somebody robbed somebody. Like I'm sorry, like you had the freedom to not rob somebody.
In the University of Texas at Austin.
I remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a movie they made out of it called The Tower.
Yeah.
Where he left a note saying, I just want to kill people. Something must be wrong with my brain. Please, when I die,
Look into this.
They looked, and there was a tumor putting pressure on a part of them. In fact, that's how we learn anything about how the brain works when
And
you have
this
situations like this.
person had the free will to
didn't
write
have the free
a
will.
note. He had the free will to write the note.
But
so he did not have the will to.
You still here?
What did you say
Did you hear my point earlier?
about Can you tell me what it was, and I'll tell you if I heard it because I actually don't remember.
Oh, no, you're good. I mean, it was about people who um
It was about the robbery of the bank and the like how you still had the free will not to do it. So like you're responding to Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I heard it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't say
Resist
No, you're good.
it.
shooting.
Because if I have a bad take, you gotta tell me.
I mean, yeah, I will for sure. I know
But
opinions on
that's
this.
the line
think
that you
Sorry, my
I
bad.
agree.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
were talking about is a partial one.
Why isn't that line always in motion as we learn more and more about how the mind works?
It is.
Okay, so then maybe it's a line of convenience today, but tomorrow we're going to find out, oh my gosh, that person has no real free control over their behavior, over their personality, over their tendencies, over their treatment of others.
It's not a line of convenience. It is, in your words, a perimeter of ignorance. When Newton said we couldn't explain certain things, right? God must have done it.
Of course.
That's a God of the gaps.
Of course.
That delineates what we don't know. The line you describe, I hope, is in fact that perimeter of ignorance which we slowly are moving toward and moving so that we do understand what the true nature of free will is.
So this is where people will push
pause.
back.
What?
Most people are concerned not about.
I'm confused.
Do you want me to go back?
No, I heard him.
Okay.
I don't think I'm processing
Sorry.
it. So basically, because he mentioned the God of the gaps, and I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong. You tell me, but I feel like he's making more of a God of the gaps error than Tyson is, because what Tyson is saying is that what we first attributed to the self and this maybe free will entity we are now understanding is just more biological, physical components that are interacting in certain ways to create an output. And what we call that is not free will. And so what Redshirt is saying is that, well, hopefully we can find, through our research, through science, that we are able to find the true nature of free will. Right now, we are just ignorant to it because we don't know enough. So we're just saying that it's determined. But over time, as we learn more, we will find the nature of free will. But I feel like that's backwards. I feel like I'm more on Tyson's side with that, where it's like in the past, we were more likely to attribute things to free will. And now over time, I think that's less and less. The more, it just seems as though the more we find out about the human condition, the more we realize all these predispositions. Because even something like, I was just watching a video and doing research on trauma and how trauma is hereditary. Like a trauma that a grandparent experienced could be passed down to a grandchild, and they're that kind of stuff. So it's like, it just seems like the more we learn about genetics, about psychology, about biology, whatever, the more that we figure out that, hey, we don't have as much control as we thought. Anyway, that was a bit of a long rant.
No, I agree. That's interesting. I would like to hear more about that sometime.
About the hereditary thing?
Yeah, about the
the trauma. Yeah, it's really cool.
The actions, but the consequences. So what they're thinking about is the punitive response to someone who does something wrong. And is a punitive response a deterrent for somebody doing something wrong or doing something wrong in the future?
Especially if they don't have the free will.
Right.
So there's the other side of this entire analysis is, how does society interact with people who are being brought into the circle day by day? We're learning what we have control over and what we don't, biophysiologically, intellectually, emotionally.
Yes.
Why do people need anxiety meds? Or do they have the freedom to
Because
not
they have
be
children. That is why. That
You're
is
still
why
on meds.
I'm
You on
telling you,
extra dose?
I'm taking them every day,
Some,
and I got 3 reasons that I take them every day.
some kids need them because they have parents.
No,
I'm just saying.
Very nice, very nice.
Okay, so Charles, if we're going to exit this conversation,
Yeah.
if we find a point of agreement, it's that this perimeter of ignorance, we recognize inside the perimeter there are forces operating against free will,
Yes.
our physiology, our neurochemistry,
Yes.
and physics,
Yes.
that surely that perimeter may grow,
Yes.
but it's possible that there's a limit to how far it will grow,
Yes.
beyond which we have to admit the existence of free will.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that.
There
Very nice.
we are.
That's a great
All
job.
It doesn't have to be absolute in one direction or
Correct.
another.
It's a bit more fluid. Okay.
I'm okay
All right.
with that. There is uncertainty in the universe. I embrace it.
I'll tell you this much. I've been married for 20 plus years. I do not have free will.
On
Bro, oh my God, dude. I was thinking of ending the video like, how am I gonna rate everybody? And I was gonna give Chuck a 7. I was,
But then he had to do the woman bad joke. Wife bad.
bro, I swear, I was so close. He was gonna get a good rating, like up until that point. Okay, should I finish it or is it basically done?
Uh, I don't remember. So maybe see if they say anything.
that, no. Chuck and Charles, thanks for helping us with this explainer.
Awesome.
On the perspectives, let's call it, but emergent perspectives on free will.
Okay. I just feel like these takes were all very standard, very gives me the vibes you didn't like the take I would describe as like somebody who hasn't studied free will and is slightly liberal. Um, because if they're
Okay.
more conservative, I think they would have been like way more on the personal responsibility kind of mindset.
You're talking about politically speak.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Politically liberal.
Okay.
Um, maybe that's irrelevant. I don't know. That's a kind of what are
Well,
your
no, I think you're right. Actually, I think I read a research article um about that, and it just seems based on like just anecdotal evidence that yeah, like if you're more conservative, you probably attribute it more to personal responsibility. But yeah, what's our ratings? Give us the ratings.
okay? Let me pull up a. Let's find one we can see. Okay. Um. Okay, I'll start with Chuck. Chuck was gonna get a 7 until that last comment. I guess I'll get a 4 now. I don't know.
They brought it down by 3.
Dude, I really hate those kind of comments. I'm sorry. Um,
That's fair. That's fair.
like, you want to know why I'm never home? Because your mom. Want to know why I'm happy all the time? Because I'm never home. It's like those kind of jokes. Like, oh my
Right.
God.
It's like shut up, bro.
Yeah, for real. Okay, maybe 4.
Wait, hold on. I'm okay. I said I'm okay. What were you saying?
Maybe 4 is too low.
At
Okay,
least a 5. At least a 5.
I'll give him a 5. I'm sorry, I'm still recovering from the last comment, but yeah, I'm cool with 5. Um, I would say maybe 5 for Neil, 5 for Chuck, 6 for Charles.
Is that his name, Charles?
I believe his name is Charles. I think he said it at the end. We could check the
You're
description.
giving 6 to Charles. Yeah, Charles Lou.
Yeah, Charles.
You're giving 6 to Charles.
I feel
Why?
like I can't remember. I don't know. This is my impression. Yeah,
Just the
I have no
vibe.
reason. I have no reason I can give. I'm sorry.
Because I thought a lot of the arguments Charles made were very unconvincing. But maybe you're thinking more about just the the vibe. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not only taking into consideration the arguments, but I guess like the overall correctness, in my opinion, of their views, like generally, even if they give a bad argument.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I shouldn't be taking that into consideration. I mean, like if we were taking in the quality of their arguments, I think Neil would be on top, but not by very much. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't find any. I'm not okay. I didn't find this video particularly insightful or interesting. However, this was a perfect video to react to. So I'm not critiquing not
Yeah,
critiquing
I
your suggestion.
the stuff you made me watch. I looked at this video and I'm like, this is something that it fits the channel because I'm like, you made me sit and watch Jordan Peterson for an hour, just rambling.
I
So yeah,
apologize.
it is perfect to react to.
I wrote an article on Jordan Peterson recently.
Give me a moment. Yes. Yeah. What do you say? Yeah, sure. All right, so you wrote an article on Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, I'll share it with you sometime. It's not actually that interesting, honestly, so it's okay if you don't read it, but I can share it with you.
Mm.
Um, um, okay, so what are your ratings?
Oh yeah. Um, five for six for Tyson. Um, five for Chuck. Four for Lou. I think that's
Damn, he's
right.
getting a 4.
Yeah, I think honestly he seems like he has really good logic. I just think that I think if he were to read up on some philosophy, I think he'd probably be better than the other two. But he so strongly wishes for free will that I think sometimes his logic gets a little muddy.
Yeah.
I didn't understand his argument where he was talking about, oh my God, I forgot, I already forgot what it was, but like immediate reaction was like, what am I even listening to? I think he was the one where every time he said something, I was like, what? Like
Yeah.
it just was off. And I really didn't like his theory of the his compassion theory about free will. I just thought that was like really not only just like logically just isn't really there, but also I just like thought about the repercussions of thinking that way, where it's like
Yeah.
people who lack empathy or compassion are somehow have less free will in whatever shape or forms. Like it just seems really off, seems like an elitist view. So yeah, that's why I think it's a four. But I thought he had a lot of great points for a hard position to defend. Um, so
I think something that's not grappled with enough about skeptics of free will, which includes me. I am a skeptic about free will. Um, is that you need to come to terms with the consequences of your view, which is that if you really think there's no free will, you you have to hold some relatively radical positions about um at least this is how I understand it, how we evaluate um I mean depending on how you characterize your free will, like possibly everything. Because if there is no free will, then I mean you can do what you can to try to stop bad things from happening, but ultimately you have to be like, well, I mean, it was outside of their control. Like, yeah, yeah, it's really bad. That was really horrible. and we should do our what we can to stop it. But like up until this point, nobody could have stopped it because this was predetermined to happen.
Yeah.
And everybody like who was part of it, they could not have not been part of it because they were predetermined to be part of it. So, you have to, that's a very radical, I think, view. Like if you said that in everyday conversation, people would be like, "What's wrong with you?" Well, clearly that's not the case.
Wait,
Uh,
this actually raises an interesting idea in my head. So are you familiar with the term like brain rot?
yeah, yeah.
Is there like a philosophy brain rot where it's like you learn enough philosophy that you're completely disconnected from like the normal viewpoint of things? Like you're like, do you remember your mind before philosophy in your mind?
Well, I mean, the difficulty is that I was like a debate bro as soon as I could
Uh,
speak. So,
that's true. I was similar, so.
but well, okay. I think my view on the nature of belief formation in a practical sense has radically changed over the past 5 years for me. And I personally think that engaging in philosophy kind of saved me from possibly being really dogmatic. However, I would think that most of the time, if people learn philosophy, okay, people who are good at reasoning are better at bullshitting than the average person because, the better you are at reasoning, the better you are at bullshitting. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know if that directly answers your question, but I would say that that maybe gives some of my perspective on it.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
or go on.
If you're done, I'm cool stopping here, but I got a bunch of others we could flip through. Um,
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the guy. Michael Humer, is that Michael?
yeah.
Yeah, he actually did a video with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it was longer, so we didn't do that one.
Do you wanna pull it up,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to,
or would you rather do a different one?
I don't care. We could do Neil deGrasse Tyson. I know you wanted to show me, who was the one that you just had up? Um,
People have
Sabi.
responded. Yeah, people have responded to her before, and it's basic. It's I mean it's pretty much a similar thing. Like all of these, this guy, this person, and this person. They all got like pretty similar views.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm cool with not. I'm cool with Well, what
This,
would you like to watch?
um, I have seen the video with him with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So maybe you could do a different one since I also watched the one we just did. So give me some novelty, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. There's one. Okay, there's one philosopher I want you to respond to at some point. Doesn't have anything to do with free will, but I'll have to tell you about that. What if we just listen to Humor's case and then maybe stop there, and you could
Okay.
give me your thoughts on Humor.
Yeah, I could do that.
I don't know who goes first.
Is
Oh,
this a debate? Oh yeah, it seems to
yeah,
be.
it's a
Yeah.
debate.
If you're a bank executive, the less likely you are to spend time looking at somebody's CV.
Probably like
Okay,
around here.
so do you see the share
Nations when won't let me do it.
telling it to me?
Okay. I'm gonna try to.
My end.
So okay, good. So thanks to Robert Tobolsky for that interesting opening statement. I'm not going to respond to what he said right now because I have my own little presentation that I prepared. So okay, so this is my understanding of the issue. The free will thesis holds that we sometimes have alternative possibilities available to us, and it is up to us which is realized.
You want to end the current video because I need to go eat something real quick, and then I can come back and we could do this video.